cost of everything has gone up dramatically over the last 75 years. With one exception. Keeping electricity affordable. That's the power of your co-op membership.
Nicholas Walker is one of the world's most accomplished garden designer builders. His partnership in Jardine of Cathy Ireland Worldwide has established him as one of America's most celebrated and innovative leaders in the design community. He speaks of sustainability, the environment, and a healthy, greener lifestyle. His stunning works of art have been featured in magazines such as historic Elizabeth Taylor Gardens, Forbes, LA Times Magazine, and so on. He's also a contributor to Good Housekeeping, Do It Yourself, Woman, FurnitureFind.com, and CathyIreland.com. Nicholas is a featured guest at the Oprah Winfrey Show and Home and Garden Television, to name a few. Cathy Ireland teamed with Nicholas to develop Jardine, a new brand developed to help the everyday gardener bring style to their garden at a realistic cost for today's families. Debuting in 2001, Jardine was awarded the Gold Medal for Design Excellence at the San Francisco Flower and Garden Show. With influence and inspiration from Cathy, Nicholas also shares with his audience the knowledge that you can design your garden with dramatic elements such as water and stone without spending unnecessary dollars. Take a seat, relax, and enjoy watching Nicholas' work of art.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Walker of Jardin J. Duget, and welcome to Cathy Ireland's Outdoor Living Experience. Here we have a great example of what you can do as a family project. I took my young kids, we went to our local gardening center, grabbed a lot of seeds, put them in a bag of washed sand. They got their hands dirty, we mixed it all up. They came out here in a misty, rainy day, and we start scattering the sand mixed with the seeds. And this is the result. Wonderful mountain lupin, perennial. As it will go through its cycle, it will die, and then it will lay its seed for next year, and it will just spread. And 2 years, maybe this whole hillside will be covered by mountain lupin. And it's a great project. The kids have a lot of fun, and then they see the cycle of life, and they have participated in that wonderful gift. Here, and this is a perfect example of jute. Now, jute is an erosion blanket. It's made of natural fibers. It decomposes and becomes earth. So come over here. We had this hillside was unstable, and we have a lot of rain in Southern California. Sometimes we get 4 inches of rain in 24 hours. So imagine 24 hours, 4 inches of rain on a hillside that's newly planted. So what we do is we lay it over with this juting material that in a year's time, you can take a look and all that grass has jutting underneath. So eventually you'll never see it, but it holds the hillside, it disperses water, and it's an excellent erosion control. And then we staple it with these staples, and they oxidize and become rust and add iron in the soil. And it's like laying a carpet. And in probably 3 years' time, it all becomes earth. Just another Kathy Ireland solution of how to control erosion in your garden.
He's fluent in English, Spanish, French, Italian, and Portuguese. And he's here now in our show. Welcome, Nicolas. A pleasure to have you with us.
Un placer igual. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look very forward to this interview.
Oh, welcome. Nicolas, what can you tell us about Kathy Ireland's garden designs?
Well, you know, Kathy is a person who is focused on solution. Her mission statement is finding solutions for families, especially busy moms. That's the main overview, that it has to be solution-based, it has to be for families, and it has to, she always says, let's give 2 for 1. So for example, A Cafe had a very successful run with candles. And instead of just offering a candle, Kathy and the team worked out a solution where the candle was presented into a sugar shaker that you find in diners and restaurants. So when the candle burns down, then after the candle's gone, you still have the receptacle where the candle lived, and you can put brown sugar, whatever it is, in it, and it becomes an old-fashioned shaker jar. So it's just an example of her design thrust of always delivering 2 for 1.
Okay. Can you tell us how Kathy got the names for her garden designs, as it is Jardin, Jutène, and what it means?
Sure. Because it's Kathy Ireland worldwide, she wants to embrace the whole world. And it's an international company. And we are based in California. And as you know, there is a very large Hispanic community here. And her father used to walk side by side with Chavez to fight for labor rights of immigrant workers. So it's very close to her heart to honor the immigrant, especially the Hispanic. So we started out with Jardin du Jour, which is French, Jardín del Día, which is Spanish, and Garden of the Day. That's how Jardin started. But it was too much of a mouthful. It confused people. So we all brought it down to Jardin, or Jardin, or Jardín.
Okay.
So, and she was, I think, paying respect to my background, which was international. I was raised born and raised in South America and all over Europe. And it captures the essence of her, I would say, design, catalyst. Through her international modeling career, she experienced the world. So she wanted to bring the world to her brand. So she does that in 8 style guides. The first one is Aloha, which captures the islands. And then we have La Vida Buena, which is colorful and spicy and Latin. Then you have Americana, the plains, close to the earth. And then we have Architectural Style Guide, which is based in an iconic city like New York City with all the different architectural styles that you see in the buildings there. And then we go to European Country Style Guide, and then in Russian style guide, Far East Dream style guide, and finally Ivory Coast style guide. And that basically captures the world and all the cultures that is so beautifully represented in the 8 style guides.
Okay, Nicholas, when did you start your career?
Well, I started, I was one of those children that loved to be in the dirt since I was born. So I think it's in the genes. I was one of those kids who used to, graft plants just because it came to me, not that because I knew about it. I would do gardens all the time. I think my 2 grandmothers were avid gardeners, and they probably learned it from their ancestors. My mother's side is Irish, so they're very close to the earth. So I was one of these children that always played in the dirt, always tried to grow things, always did experiments in building outside, and it just seems that it's an extension of my childhood, that's all.
There is a picture of this spectacular work of art called The Exotic Garden in Norwich, England. I am from the Caribbean and love it. Tell me more about it.
Well, what's wonderful about gardening and landscape design is that you have to adjust to the site conditions. So in England, you get 300 days of rain out of 365 days a year. So plants thrive in rain, in moisture, and then there's a famous landscape designer called Penelope Hobhouse. And her favorite saying is, green is a color, And that particular garden that you're referring to in England, you'll see all the different hues, shades, and variations on the color green. And then conversely, a lot of people in California, especially Los Angeles area, always asks for the English cottage garden. And I said, well, I can't give you an English cottage garden because we certainly don't have 300 days of rain. We are in a 100-year cycle. But if you're open, we can offer to you the scale, the proportion, the variety, the show of color, utilizing plants from the Canary Islands, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa. And if people are open, South America, and if people are open to that, we can give you an impression of an English cottage garden without using plants that require a lot of water.
Now, how long it takes to design and implement a piece of art like that one?
Well, that one is centuries. It's literally a garden, an estate that's passed from, generation to generation to generation. If, for example, someone hires me to do their home, the typical backyard, front yard, side yard, I would say it takes me about a week to live on the property and get a sense and listen to the clients and see what their particulars are. If they have children, if they have dogs, do they want a children garden? Do they want an adult area? Do they want an entertaining area? Do they want a sanctuary area, a reading area? And then you put all those items and personality requirements, if you will, into a plan. And then we present it to see if we captured or if I captured what they communicated to me. And we present it visually. And then we go back and forth and fine-tune it, and then we bring in the crews, and we start the deconstruction phase, goes into the construction phase, installing the infrastructures of irrigation, lighting, drainage, etc. And then when all that is done, elevations, hardscape, and grading, then the fun part, the icing on the cake is the plants. And then when we do the plants, we're done. And then the trick is it's a live piece of art. So we have to sustain it and maintain it because it grows and it's not a static art form.
And is that something that you do also?
Yes. Yeah, my company, we are a design, build, sustained company. And then we are anchored in green practices because I feel that's our responsibility. We are stewards of the earth. We are educators, and I try to educate all my clients about being organic and not use the typical pesticides, fungicides, and we can do all that organically and have the same results. And it's much better for their families, their children, their pets, and certainly the environment we live in.
Now, let's talk a little bit about price. Prices ranges from...
Well,
it depends,
yes.
And I know.
Yeah, I mean, prices, I mean, for example, I'll give you a peek into prices. When we launched Jardin at the San Francisco Garden and Flower Show, you know, you raffle and you put your number into a big lotto, and then you pull out a number, and then they give you a piece of a puzzle at the Cow Palace in San Francisco, and you have a geometric shape that's part of a huge puzzle where you have the floor as part of your presentation. So, and that's the way it goes. So everybody has a fair shot at it, and we were given a piece of a pie that looked like a piece of a pie. Kathy really is an authentic person who is full of integrity. So she said, Nicholas, I know you work for the very wealthy, and literally I've had $1 million to $1.5 million budget to do a landscaping, which includes, you know, driveways and big driveways, big long entrance driveways, big pools, entertainment areas, vineyards, tennis courts, saunas, koi fish pond, etc. So you can see very quickly how that money gets spent. But she said, I want to address our customer, our busy mom. So it has to be fun, it has to be safe for children, and it has to be economical. And yet my challenge to you, Nicholas, is bring that quality that you bring to the big pocketbooks, but bring it down to everybody that it can enjoy that quality. So we opted to do a presentation that captured recycling. So I went to the different junkyards to pick up used copper pipes. And in those copper pipes, we transformed that into water elements. Then I went to all my maintenance clients, and we used bamboo as screening, privacy screens to separate properties. And bamboo is a grass, so it has a life cycle. And the culms, which are the actual bamboo stalks, die, but they're beautiful. So I cut them, and they were big. They were, you know, this diameter. And we cut them in half, and we created a frame of bamboo to hold the elevated stage of our presentation, our demonstration. And then we used the tall ones as another top screening. And then I used 4 tons of recyclable beach glass. And I don't know if you know, but, you know, plant material traveling from Los Angeles to San Francisco, and it's about, in a truck, it's about 8 to 12 hours. Not a lot of plants survive that trip. Mm-hmm. And I was driving one of the U-Haul trucks, and my other team member was driving the other U-Haul truck. And the only plants that really do well are succulents. And they show their stress by getting crisper in color, and their colors get more saturated. That's the only way they show their stress. So they don't come in flopless and, you know, lifeless. And you know, I could still remember, I still do remember the whispering of, like, who is this guy from Los Angeles with Kathy Ireland, the supermodel? what are they doing? 4 tons of recycled glass and all these weird plants and all these, um, bamboos. And what was interesting is up in San Francisco, it's very traditional. It's one of the premier garden and flower shows of the world, akin to the Pennsylvania one in Descanso Gardens, akin to the one in Chelsea. So I was plunked between a $500,000 installation and a $350,000 installation, and our budget was $7,000. So
Okay.
just to give you an idea.
Okay. I was reading that Kathy also have Jardim for Kids with some fantastic ideas, and what that got my attention is the what you guys called the eclectic herb garden.
Yes, herbs, culinary herbs, rosemary, thyme, oregano, cilantro, chives, all of those basically require very little care. They're hardy, they're easy to grow, they're fun, and they're almost indestructible. So it's a great choice for kids. For example, if a child forgets to water an herb garden is drought tolerant. So it can go with very little water. And what's great about herbs too is when you dry them, they still have a life to it. They still have that wonderful pungent smell. And it makes mommy happy. And I'm a cook, so I'll say daddy too.
Okay.
That when the kids bring the herbs from the garden and say, hey, let's, like with my kids, and I have 4 of them, we grow tomatoes and basil, and they love picking the, bright red. Is it ready? And then we test it and we turn it and it falls in their hands. It's ready. And then we bring in the basil, and then we do olive oil, lemon, and a little garlic, and you have a meal.
Wow. Now I know that you guys are located in California, and does Kathy has like I would say, does she give any classes to kids? Does she have any programs
Well,
going on?
her faith is very important. So I know she teaches Bible to children, and she goes to Central America every year with her children and her church to build homes for the impoverished. So her heart is all about children. The only time we hear Kathy say no to doing let's say, an interview or a media opportunity is if it conflicts with any of her children's schedules.
Okay. Nicholas, what can you suggest our audience who want to start a project in their garden? How can they start? From where they start?
Okay, Kathy always says a garden can be, because not all of us are fortunate to have, a backyard, front yard. Some of us live in condominiums, apartments, whatever. But if, let's say, a garden is a state of mind. So if you live in an apartment, you can bring in, for example, the herbs that I mentioned earlier. You can have an herb culinary garden. Or now it's pretty mainstream, you can have hydroponic gardens where you can grow lettuces just with water. The main thing is to have a family sit down, because it's fascinating when I have a sit down with my kids and start discussing, okay, what do we want to grow this year? And I think it's so important nowadays because, you ask most kids today and you ask them, okay, where does the lettuce come from? Where do the carrots come from? And invariably the answer would be the supermarket. They don't really correlate that food comes from earth and seed and from water and from human hands tending to it, from the seed to the germination to the growth and then ultimately the cultivation of it. So first of all, it's like, what's your sun exposure? What do you want? Do you want privacy? Do you want to open it up? Do you want a drought-tolerant garden? Do you want to use less water? Do you want to change your front yard into a culinary garden so you can grow your own food? There's nothing better than you compare even, I don't know why, even an organic tomato in a great store will not taste the same if you grow it out of your own garden. I don't know if it's the emotional component or literally that time that that tomato sits on the shelf waiting to be picked by the customer, the taste goes out. I don't know what it is, but to pull your own tomato off the vine and just eat it right off the vine, there's no better taste. I've never tasted one like that if it's store bought. So to me, it's important to get everybody on board because sometimes, moms and dads want something for their garden. They don't want too much hassles. I did a garden for a family in Beaverton, Oregon, upon the invitation of Oprah Winfrey. And they had a little girl, and there was a growing family, and they wanted another child. So they wanted part of the backyard as the children's garden. So we brought in a little dollhouse, and we put in what I call a Disney-esque type of garden with very bright flowers. We also did a dual purpose. We used marigolds, which keeps pests away. And then they had a big bay window off their dining room. And they entertain a lot. So they wanted to experience at night a gurgling rock outside their dining room. So we lit that. They had a beautiful oak tree that they wanted an old-fashioned swing. So we put that in there. And then in the corner, they entertained a lot and they wanted to do outside. So it basically the backyard became the adult area, separated by the oak and the swing, and the children's area and the big rock. So it's literally what I love about my job is if I'm a good listener, I hear everybody's wants and needs and personalities, and then it's my job to translate that into what they want. And I invite any family or any person, any community that wants to have a garden to have really a dialogue, and there is a new trend that I think comes out of the recession where people see the waste of a lawn. The lawns are pretty maintenance heavy. You have to cut them every week. They use a lot of water. In California, it's an issue. There's actually a bill in California where it's on the state floor right now that all lawns are going to be possibly removed because we are in a 100-year cycle. But I'm digressing. But the lawn aspect can be removed and replaced by a garden, a reading garden with a fountain, or a culinary garden, or a play area that people like to use bocce, or the French call it pétanque. There's many, or the old-fashioned horseshoes.
Where our audience can get more information about Kathy's garden designs, and where can they call for more information?
Okay. It's simple, kathyireland.com. And then I would love to invite all the mothers to be the mothers, the grandmothers, all of you who are loved by the sons, the brothers, the husbands, the grandsons, to please go to organicbouquet.com. That's where you will find Kathy Ireland floral designs as options for Mother's Day's gifts.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So, for example, if you wanted to see specifically, you'll go to her website, Kathy Ireland, and you'll see there's different options. There is the lifestyle, the homepage, and then you'll have a cafe, which is about entertainment. And my colleague, Chef Andre, is a great person in the entertainment food aspect of the brand, and I know he'd love to do the show if you're interested. And then I have Jardin, and then in Jardin we have, you know, the gardens of the world. That's one of our favorite aspects of Jardin, because it captures the 8 style guides in real time and gardens from all over the world, and they act as a design catalyst and inspiration for the products that we develop.
Wonderful. I love it, and I'm on it right away. Any remarks before closing?
Just, I mean, such a pleasure to do this interview with you. Thank you for the opportunity. Kathy wanted me to please extend her warm wishes, and she wanted me to make sure that I extended Happy Mother's Day to you, and to invite everybody to honor Mother. And what better way to do it with flowers?
Thank you, Nicolas. It's a pleasure having you here.
No, it's a great pleasure.
Now, as Kathy said, finding solutions for families, especially busy moms. Yay! Okay, well, it's a pleasure, Nicolas.
Now, likewise, let's do that again.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
See you next time.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
The cost of everything has gone up dramatically over the last 75 years. With one exception. Keeping electricity affordable. That's the power of your co-op membership.